Hi, everybody. See a bunch of people coming on. Andrea, Tish, Liz. Great. So I wanted to take a little deeper dive into the chickpea salad sandwich. And this time, I know a lot of quick videos. Hello, Andrea. A lot of quick videos. They show people using a can of chickpeas. Like they'll just have this can and they'll open it up and throw it in the bowl. And you can use a can of chickpeas. But today I prepared chickpeas the old-fashioned way. Hi, Dorothy. Hi, John. Hi, Terry. And so I actually cooked the chickpeas, either Rancho Gordo, garbanzo beans, or chickpeas, and I cooked them in the Instant Pot. I've got my trusty Instant Pot behind me in case you don't use an Instant Pot. You can see it. This is a classic Instant Pot. Hi, Christy. So this is an older one, and it's funny because I thought about upgrading to a newer Instant Pot, and then I bought a friend an Instant Pot, and the quality wasn't as good as my old trusty Instant Pot. So I have two like this old one. But to cook the Rancho Gordo beans in the Instant Pot, first of all, it's important that you soak them overnight. And I have my cooked chickpeas right here. So you take the chickpeas and put them in a big bowl and soak them in your refrigerator for 24 hours, actually is best, or overnight. Hi, Lydia. Hi, Elaine. So you soak them with plenty of water because they'll absorb the water, 24 hours. Then you cook them in the Instant Pot. I don't recommend cooking them on the stove because my experience is it takes forever to get done and it's not worth it. But in the Instant Pot, after you've soaked them for 24 hours, add about an inch of water on the top. Don't add anything else, just an inch of water. And then put them on high pressure for 18 minutes. That's it. And then you can let them release for, let's see, allowed to naturally release. Yeah. So just let it go until the little button goes down and the pressure's released. That may take 30 minutes. Then add some salt. I think I add a half a teaspoon for every half pound, so a teaspoon of salt for a whole pound. And I did cook the whole 1 pound bag because I'm going to use 3 cups for this recipe. And I wanted to have some extras for other things because you can make like a chickpea rice dish or use chickpeas on your salads, just plain. And they taste really good. These Rancho Gordo chickpeas, just by themselves, can't really tell a difference. Hi, Rosie. You can't really tell the difference when you look at them, but compared to the can, they have such a nice velvety texture. There's something about making them yourself that the taste is superior. It really is. And you wouldn't even realize it until you did it a couple of times and then you said, this is better. But you may not know. So I'm going to start with adding and I made these early this morning. They're cooked chickpeas. I made the pound, 3 cups. I drained them really well. I didn't rinse them because the liquid in the cooked chickpeas tastes fine when you make it yourself. It's not overly salted. It doesn't have any chemicals. So I just have my 3 cups of chickpeas in here. And then, like I said, I have more and I'll use those for other recipes this week. So there are a lot of other things that go into your chickpea salad. And for example, I'll bring you my tray. And this is another thing I like about this recipe is you get to put some fresh vegetables in it too. So celery, this is organic, very fresh celery, red onion, some lemon, and then we'll have some pickles and some other things too, and jalapenos. And we'll even put in fresh herbs. So I'm going to be putting in some parsley. I've already got some cleaned here. And I wanted to show this to you. If you buy a bunch of parsley or cilantro, put it in a glass like this. This is like an old glass that doesn't even have a set anymore. So I use it for this and then cover it with the bag that it came in, stick it in your refrigerator, and your parsley or cilantro or any herb will last forever. Not forever, but for a lot longer than if you stuck it in the drawer. But you have to change the water about every 3 days. But it will I've had it last for a couple weeks as opposed to just a few days because it costs, it's expensive to buy fresh stuff. And when it's not summertime, when I don't have a garden going during the summer, I can just walk out the door and pick cilantro and garlic and parsley and all kinds of stuff. But right now, actually, my parsley did survive. I didn't think it did, but I'm looking at it right now out my window and I see a bunch of green parsley out there. So that's funny that I don't know if you could see it. Probably not. Anyway, believe me, it's out there. So I'm going to start with every ingredient. I've got the chickpeas in here. The next ingredient is 1 rib of celery. It's actually called a rib, not a stalk. I think the whole plant is called a stalk. When you just get one piece, it's a rib. And there's another pretty good sized piece on here, so I'll use this one too. For this, I wouldn't use the leaves, but you can save the leaves. They're good for making your own stock. So here's Nene and Rosie. If you have any questions about anything, I can read the comments and I'll be sure and answer them. And so we're going to put lots of fresh vegetables in this. First of all, I'm chopping up the celery. I'm dicing it. So first I kind of cut it into like rectangular or strips, sticks, whatever you want to call it. And then I can turn them around and then I can dice them up really quickly this way because they're all the same size. So that works really well for dicing. So that was the celery. And, get the freshest celery you can get. I know that sometimes you're challenged with where you shop. Maybe you can't get really super fresh produce. And I see this in things that I see that people make sometimes, and it'll be a good dish, but their produce wasn't very good. Let's see. Pam says hello. Hello, Pam. Hope that's Pam Vilnofsky. Maybe not. A 4th cup of chopped red onion. And I'm cutting everything today, so you can see how I cut it. Maybe you're not interested in that, but I think there's a lot of quick videos where you don't really see people doing the real thing. So you don't really know, how did they cut that? How did they cut that into little, diced pieces? How do you cut an onion? Sometimes it's good to see people do the actual thing and not just show the really super quick version. So with an onion, I make a horizontal slice and then I cut it. It looks, like little stripes on onion already there to kind of guide you with how big it is if you have it small dice, and then just hold your hand over there. And then whatever comes out from this way is going to be little tiny diced onions. So I don't need all of it. I'm going to set it aside. But I'm going to get my 4th cup measuring cup. I should have had that out. And if you want your onions smaller, I think I want them chopped a little bit finer than this. That's a little bit too thick. So I'm just going to run my knife over and chop them up a little smaller. And I love red onions. You can use sweet yellow onions if you prefer, white onions, whatever onions you like. But I think the sweet onions are better. The really bitter, there are some onions I classify as bitter, and I don't really think those would be good in here because it's going to be raw. It is. Aloha. Oh, I wish I were wherever you're at in Hawaii. I'd love to be there right now, especially this last week because it was so cold. Well, like today, it was still 20 degrees, so it didn't get any warmer today. But I think we're supposed to be through with the coldest of the weather, so now the rest of the week, it's going to only get higher. Okay, Elizabeth is on. Hi, Elizabeth. All right, so far we have the chickpeas, 3 cups. We have the celery and the red onions. And I think we're supposed to mash the chickpeas before we do all this other stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. I should have mashed them to begin with. I have like a potato masher. It's easier to mash them before you add everything. So excuse me for going out of order here, but I'm mashing them up. And the other thing about using your own homemade chickpeas instead of canned chickpeas is that chickpeas are easier to mash. The canned chickpeas tend to be a lot harder. And you don't want to have to cook them and heat them up to soften them up, because some people will say, oh, just heat them up, they'll soften up. It's like, you don't want to heat them up, you're going to use them in a cold dish. You can also use a fork. So this or fork, either one. The fork works good. I'll use the fork for a minute. I've got most of it mashed up, so I'm going to finish mashing them with the fork because I like them to be mashed up. I don't want to see a bunch of big solid chunks of chickpeas. But you can tell if you're looking at it close up that it's getting mashed up pretty well. And it's not taking a lot of effort, to just mash them with my fork. Don't be tempted to put them in a food processor. You do not want them to be pulverized into mush. You want them to be kind of rustic and still have some texture. And if you put them in the food processor, you'll have hummus. And hummus is a whole different recipe. This is how we use the same ingredients to make hummus, cooked chickpeas, but then we use tahini and garlic and lemon juice and salt and pepper and that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But we're not making hummus. We're making a kind of a chickpea salad. So we wanted to have some pieces of chickpea in there that are recognizable, don't hurt anything. Okay, now I'm going to do one final mash. And it helps if you have a big bowl with a flat bottom. And if you use both your hands, you get a lot more leverage than just using one hand. So now I can see we're making progress. Now, got them started. So this takes a couple of minutes, but it's not that long. And that's it. So right now, I have a lot of mashed up chickpeas in here. And you can even tell, they're mashed by the way it kind of folds up into a little mountain. Okay, so there we go. The chickpeas are mashed enough, and we could start adding the other things. And I'm actually going to make a sandwich for you so that you get to see how to make a really delicious chickpea salad sandwich. Doesn't that sound delicious? Okay, so we've got our onions and we've got our celery. Now we can put some pickles in. Unfortunately, I used up all my home canned pickles. I used to have a bunch of pickles in my pantry, and I've used them all. I did not do any canning this year. I didn't do any canning at all. And the reason for that, what I usually grow a bunch of cucumbers and I grow figs and a lot of stuff. And I can it. I make pickles. I make fig jam. I make a lot of stuff. I think this is about enough for 2 tablespoons. These are bread and butter pickles, and that's what I make when I make pickles. Bread and butter pickles with stock. They taste pretty good, but not as good as my home canned pickles. But the reason I didn't make my own pickles is because my son died in 2024 in August. And when I found out that he died, it was a Saturday afternoon, and I was canning fig jam. And my whole kitchen was full of canning equipment. And my stove was full of canning equipment, and everything was out. And I had to come back to my house. Cheryl, I had to come back to my house. I love pickles, Andrea says. And put all that canning stuff away. So whenever I think of home canning, it brings back the memory of that terrible day. The sudden death of my son, who was only 41, had no pre-warning that something was going to happen to him. So I don't know if I'll ever can again. I don't know when I might get back to it. Okay, this is approximately 2 tablespoons of pickles, sweet and spicy pickles, any kind of pickles you like. Try to bring you closer to the bowl so you can see what I'm doing. So anyway, no pickles this year. And so I'm buying them at the store, which is fine. Okay, then this is my special ingredient I put in, and it's sweet and spicy jalapeno peppers. I buy these from a gourmet store in Fredericksburg, Texas, but you can get sweet and spicy jalapeno peppers. This is Wrestling Rob. It's a store in Fredericksburg, Texas, and it has red hot candied jalapenos. That's understandable. Andrea says, yeah, thank you. So anyway, my husband orders these for me all the time, so I always have some. And I use them kind of sparingly. I don't use tons of them because, a little goes a long way. a couple of these in your dish and you can really taste it. It does have that sweetness and the spice, the heat in a good way. It's really a good addition to your dish. So we'll put that sweet and spicy red hot jalapeno peppers. And if you don't want anything with sugar in it, just skip that. You don't have to put it in. In fact, somebody had asked me about, oh, I want to make your spicy chickpea salad, but I don't want it to be spicy. Can you give me a recipe for that? And I said, well, that's easy. Just don't put the jalapeno peppers in it. That's the thing that makes it spicy. And then also don't put any cayenne pepper in it because that's also in my recipe. Okay, then we have fresh cilantro. The store was out of cilantro, so I have parsley. So I'm going to put just a tablespoon or so of parsley in here. I'm not crazy about the taste of parsley, but I like the color and the look of it. So I'm going to just put this tablespoon of finely chopped up parsley in here to have a little freshness from the herb. I much prefer the cilantro. There may be some of you who prefer parsley to cilantro, and you'd be happy to substitute parsley for cilantro. If that's the case, do that. Hatch green chilies would be good too. Yes, yeah, sure. You can, like I said, you can personalize this and make it however you like it. I'm just making it the way I like it. Okay, so I think we have all the big ingredients in here. We have the peppers and the pickles and the onions and the celery, parsley. So this is all the chunky ingredients that are in here. We need to mix them up good. I just want you to see how colorful this is. It's not just this brown thing. It's colorful. And it's fresh. It has fresh vegetables in it, which I think make it really good. Then we're going to add some other things, like we're going to add some acid, which is in the form of apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon. And acid, vinegar or lemon, whatever, always adds a little bit of zip or brightness to food. That's kind of the key word, is brightness, meaning something that is not dull, something that stimulates your taste buds in a positive way. A tablespoon of Dijon mustard. This is that Grey Poupon Dijon mustard. And if you're a mustard lover, you can put more in. Like some people only put mustard. They don't put other creamy ingredients in it, like plant-based cashew cream in place of mayonnaise or whatever. Some people love the acid foods more, and so they'll just put lots of lemon and mustard and skip anything creamy. So that's a matter of taste. If you like things more acidic, just put more mustard and vinegar and stuff like that. Be sure and taste it to make sure you like it, because it's holding together quite well. You don't really need a mayonnaise-like substance to make it hold together. It actually holds together pretty well as it is. But I like the creamy ingredient myself. A tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. I have some nice big seedless lemons. I love these. I think that's about a tablespoon. And then we're almost done. Tamari, also something that I use because I like the depth of flavor you get with tamari, but we're just putting a half teaspoon. So it's barely any, it's very little. It's not going to make a huge difference if you don't put it in, but it does give it that little bit of umami or that flavor that we like. Christy, she's the last one. If anybody else has any suggestions or what you put in yours, let me know. Then we can add some spices. There are not that many spices in here, and you could probably leave them out just fine. A half teaspoon of garlic powder. Let's see, I already got my half teaspoon, so we'll use this. Okay, half teaspoon of garlic powder. And then the other thing's a pinch of black salt. And that is the black salt. It is hold on, I brought it in here. I know I did. Oh, here it is. It's hiding from me. That's a kala namak. I add sriracha to mine. Okay, Dorothy, that sounds good. So with the black salt, I'm going to use the smallest measuring spoon I have, which is like an eighth of a teaspoon. And I'm going to just get a tiny bit like that. And, the black salt adds that kind of, I hate to call it egginess, but that's what it is, that you associate with salad dishes like egg salad or tuna salad. A lot of people put egg in that. So that's kind of to give you that little eggy flavor. And then we're going to put in a dash of turmeric. A dash to me is like an eighth of a teaspoon. The turmeric gives it a pretty color. A dash of paprika. I caught a whiff of that black salt, and it really does have that kind of eggy taste. A little paprika that gives it some flavor. And let's see what else. Cayenne pepper. This has a little thing, so we'll shake a tiny bit in here because it's already got the jalapeno pepper. We don't want to get too crazy. Some black pepper. Yeah, not good with some black pepper. That makes it really good. And then we just mix all that in. Oh, it smells great. I can smell all those spices. Delicious. So you see, it's holding together really well. But you can still tell it's chickpeas because there's some chickpeas in here. And then last but not least, I have my cashew cream, a fourth of a cup. If you don't want to make cashew cream, and I made that by soaking cashews and blending it with a little water, like 1 cup of cashews and a fourth of a cup of water in a high-speed blender. And I had some already made, so I use that. I do have friends that are not oil-free, plant-based people, and they use plant-based mayo like Vegenaise or Just Mayo, which is from Just Egg Company. So if you don't want to use cashew cream and you're not oil-free and your family isn't, and you just want to make a vegetarian or vegan version, you can use a store-bought mayo. Vegenaise is the one that's been around forever. But I think the Just Egg one, I've tasted it. I thought it was really good. Yeah, I was kind of sorry I tasted it because it was so good. I thought, man, I kind of wish I could use it, but I don't. Okay, so that was the last ingredient in our chickpea tuna, which was a little bit of mayo. So now it's finished, and you can kind of see holds together. We can taste it and see if it tastes good. Delicious. I think I'll add a little salt though, just a little. And I'm going to wash my hands because it's sticky. Oh, that is so good. And what started me on this whole thing is funny because one of my followers, somebody who's been following me for years, wrote me an email one day recently, and she said, I use my sink as a trash can in case you're wondering. She said she wakes up every day and thinks about my spicy, creamy chickpea filling, and she eats it all the time, and it's the best recipe. And she tried the recipes from, and she named all the big people that are out there making everything. People with a lot more followers than me. And she said she tried all of theirs, but none of them were good compared to mine. So I thought, oh yeah, I need to get that recipe out and dust it off and make this. So I posted about it. And then a friend of mine, PJ, she saw my post about, here's a link to my YouTube video, how to make the chickpea salad. And so she made some. And I remember she texted me and asked me about an ingredient and whatever. So when she made it, it happened to be I was coming to her house the next day. And so I went to her house and she said, oh, you have to come eat the sandwich with the chickpea dressing in your recipe. I said, okay. So I got there and she was real excited to make me a sandwich. And so she had bread. She had French bread from Trader Joe's. I have Dave's Good Seed bread. This is the one my husband likes. So we always have the Dave's Good Seed bread around. And it doesn't have added oil. But anyway, she spread the chickpea filling on the sandwich. Look how much I put on there. That's kind of a lot, isn't it? I don't care. I'll put as much as I want. It's my sandwich, right? Look at that. That looks great. Put your sandwich filling all the way to the edge. We actually got graded on that in culinary school when we had to do sandwich lesson. The teacher said, You'll get marked down if your spread doesn't go all the way to the very edge of your bread. Remember that. Not that that really matters, but I never thought about that. One day in my life, I had made sandwiches for 4 kids for decades. By the time I went to culinary school, I was 54 years old. Okay, so anyway, my friend made me a sandwich, and it was so good. It was like it had the things we're going to put on this sandwich. So I'll go step by step. It had tomato. This is an organic, vine ripened or hothouse tomato. So she had tomato on her sandwich, and she had this kind of tomatoes, not some stupid cherry tomatoes that were chopped up just to use because you didn't have anything else. She had the real big tomatoes like these. And then she put red onions on her sandwich, which I'm going to do, but I'm going to put slices. Hers were chopped up, which, I like slices, but chopped up ones are good too. But red onions on a sandwich to me are great. Now, not everybody likes that. So put what you like on your sandwich. But I'm going to put a couple of slices, real thin, a couple of thin slices of red onion. Spread them out a little bit so they're not all in one place. Then we have to add the lettuce. So she put lettuce on hers. In fact, I'm just copying exactly how she constructed this sandwich. I have some super crispy organic romaine lettuce. And I'm going to kind of smash it down a little bit so that it'll fit on the bread because it's kind of curled, like a leaf. This would be a good leaf for making a boat or something. So I'm going to cut it to fit my bread. And then I'm going to kind of smash it a little bit to straighten it up, Put that in there. That one didn't look that neat, but that's okay. Another one. So I think two lettuce leaves is enough. I'm going to kind of trim the end. It looks a little jagged. Okay, there we go. So I've got the lettuce, tomato, onions. What else can we put on here? How about some avocado? Oh, and pickles. Do you like to put pickles on your sandwich? Who else is watching? Annie. I think pickles would be good on the sandwich. I don't know why you wouldn't want to put them on there. Okay, I need something to get the pickles out. I'll just use my knife. I can't use my fork now since I used it. I don't want to put a lot of pickle on there because it's already got pickles in it. So I'm just going to put a couple of slices of pickles on here. I'll cut them into 4 pieces so that they can spread out a little bit. So I'm going to put pickle on my sandwich. Pickles, onions, lettuce, tomato, and avocado. I have a good avocado, I hope. Let's just hope. Oh, it looks perfect. Wow, do you know how hard it is to get a perfect avocado? And I want avocado sliced avocado. So my method is to cut a little bit off the top and then kind of cut a slit down each end. And what that does is that lifts the shell right off of it so that you can make a really nice, neat slice of your avocado without having to dig it out of the skin. When you try to dig it out of the skin, you lose it, like that piece. So then now I can make some nice slices. So I can put 1, 2, 3. That slice isn't that nice looking. Let's get a nicer one than that. Don't worry, I'll use that avocado. So I have my avocado slices. I've got the lettuce, pickles, tomatoes, onions. And then one thing you can do is salt and pepper, right? A little pepper, a little salt, not much, just a little bit. And then, actually, I'm going to move the pickles here because they're going to fall off when I. Okay, so we have our onions and lettuce. And then I'm going to cut my sandwich in half because that's how I eat it. I would not eat a sandwich that wasn't cut in half. Paper towel. So I'm going to I have a serrated knife to do this. Okay. So our end result is this beautiful sandwich. What do you think? Okay. Rosie says, any suggestions on how to make small, can't read this, high tea sandwiches? Okay. I actually did a class on plant-based afternoon tea. Okay. So I'll, look on my website and search for plant-based afternoon tea. In fact, I'll put a link when I post this recipe. I'll put a link to it. Okay, so here's our finished sandwich. Is that a sandwich you guys would eat? What do you think? It looks pretty thick. Look at oh wow. I didn't lose it. I lost a couple of onions, but that's it. I think I lost a pickle. I'll get another one. All right. I'm not going to try to eat this sandwich on camera because it would be a big mess, but this is going to be my meal because I didn't have much for lunch. So, who watching is going to make this sandwich, first of all, while you're posting that? Let's see, how many people are watching? 29. Okay, so I went to lunch today at an event, and um, I can say 100% there was not one thing available on the lunch that I could eat. I will definitely make the sandwich this week. Great. Be sure and make it. It's a delicious chickpea salad sandwich spread. So I went through the whole line, the buffet line. They had beef, turkey, sausage, potato salad, coleslaw, and beans with pork meat in the beans. And then they had 4 or 5 kinds of dessert. Let's see. Andrew says, I will be making it great. So then they had drinks and a bunch of desserts. All the desserts were like classical desserts, cobbler and cookies and stuff. So I usually don't eat those because they won't have any plant-based ones. So I went through the whole line and my husband was with me and he eats regular food. So he got a plate of food. But I told him to. I said, you get a plate of food. I'll go through the line. If there's anything I can eat, like green salad, I'll get something. No, there was not one thing. So I had a good breakfast, so I wasn't starving or anything. We live very close to this. It's our church. We live really close. So I said, well, I'll just go home and eat something. So I came home and ate a cup of soup and I said, I'll eat my sandwich after my demonstration as an early dinner. So, lesson learned is, and if you follow my lifestyle, plant-based and especially plant-based, no oil, it's hard to find stuff. It really is. Sometimes you can't find anything. And so what I do in those cases is I drink water and then I go home and eat something. It's that simple. I don't say, oh, I've got to eat this because there's nothing for me to eat. I just don't eat it because, I follow a plant-based diet. Let's see somebody else join. So anyway, if I'm going somewhere, like this is a good thing to take with you to a party or something with some raw vegetables and crackers so that you have something to eat. In fact, I'm taking this somewhere tonight and I'm going to serve it on a pretty platter and I'm going to put crackers around it. And I have carrot sticks, celery sticks, and cucumber sticks because right before we came on, I was making my weekly salad. So I have, cucumbers, carrots, cabbage, I'm not using, tomatoes, celery left from this recipe. So I made all these raw vegetables and I'm going to put this chickpea salad in the middle in a bowl. And then I'm going to surround it with these vegetables and crackers. And I love these Mary's Gone crackers. Taste really good with this chickpea spread. So if you needed to take food with you somewhere, like you had to go away for the day to play golf, Pam, people I know, or you were out and about and you couldn't be sure that you would get any food to eat, this is a good thing to bring. You can bring a little lunch bag with a container of the chickpea salad and some Mary's Gone crackers or some carrot sticks and have a really hearty lunch. And if you're worried about, you don't want to have raw onions on your breath because you're going to be around people, leave the onions out. Just put the celery in it. And that way you don't have to worry about it. Put celery, peppers, cilantro and things that, don't leave you with the worry that you might be, creating onion breath. Some people worry about that. Avocados, whatever, make a sandwich. So this is really good for that kind of thing. Oh, you ate the pickle. Tori bent down here and ate the pickle that I dropped. I guess she decided it was okay because she ate it. All right. So that was my experience today. I went to a lunch. There was nothing for me, but I came home and I immediately started working on making my, few days worth of salad ingredients so that I could have a salad. And then tonight, I'm bringing the chickpea salad with raw vegetables and crackers so that I have something that I can eat that everybody else will also like. And I never say anything. When I bring food to this thing, I never really say much about it. I just present it. It might be curry squash soup, or it might be cashew cheese dip, or it might be fried rice or peanut noodle salad. But everything I've brought, I hear people talking, and it's really funny because they know I'm a chef, and nobody in this group eats healthy, plant-based. They eat a lot of meat, really, truthfully. Meat and potatoes and cheese. Everything has cheese, and then they put cheese in all the salads, everything. So I could hear them talking, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, Julia made that. She's a chef. It's really delicious. Her food is really good. And it's vegan, but it's good." And I'll hear them talking, and I think, "Okay, they're eating my food. They don't mind eating it, even though none of them follow this way of eating. So there may be hope. I may get to do something with my church that has to do with teaching plant-based classes or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll do something. So I hope you guys make the spicy, creamy chickpea sandwich, or even the spread, and use it on something that you want to use it on. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed it. Bye-bye, everybody. I think I'm going to come live maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure, because I have a brand new lentil soup recipe it's a spicy Indian curry type lentil soup that's different from my usual one. And I'm going to make that for you because I had it today and I kept thinking, everybody needs to make this. It's so good. So thank you all for watching, and I will be back soon with another live cooking demo. Bye-bye, everybody.